Hello, everybody. Welcome to Housing Bubble 2.0 News of the Week, or as I like to call it, another episode of How the Pandemic is Affecting the Housing Market. I'm Randy Patrick here, your host, putting the realism back in real estate. Yeah, it's been a little while since I've done a video. Quite frankly, just haven't been that compelled to do one. There's a lot going on in the country these days. A lot of, just we all know what's going on. And just haven't felt like doing a video. It's just simple as that. Been very busy out there in the field quite a bit. If you're happening to catch some of my Facebook Live videos, I'm actually walking through houses that we're evaluating. You can see what's going on when I'm actually doing that. So if you're not, joined up for that, just get on your Facebook and it's Housing Bubble 2.0 or Housing Bubble 2. You can find me, and then you'll see videos of me walking through stuff. Okay, and it's vacant houses, that need rehab, whatever. So it's just kind of what I like to do, in the real estate business, analyze deals, etc., etc. So today, really, we got a ton to talk about. I'm going to sort of focus on sort of one main subject today. I know there's been a lot of things in news, so next, I'll pick up the video pace again. And hopefully, we'll catch up on what's going on with numbers and unemployment and forbearance and things like that. But, one thing, though, if you're not already a subscriber, if you could please subscribe to my channel, that'd be most appreciated. As again, I'm putting the realism back in real estate, trying to do the best I can to get you guys the data and what's going on. And that's one thing I want to talk about, too. A lot of people have asked me saying, hey, can you provide me with foreclosures in a specific location? Well, here's the scoop on that. I'm trolling for information on the internet, and I'm looking for sources for data. I've got a couple here and there. It's not, not all data is easy to get. It depends on how it's produced, where it comes from, who captures it, and also the cost of it too. So, having data across the country can be a very costly, we'll call it exercise. So that's why I can't always, I guess you could say, comment on the volume of foreclosures or what's going on in specific locations. However, I've just signed up for another data service, which I'm also going to sort of have an affiliate relationship with. So I'm reviewing that right now. Hopefully that'll actually work, where I can do a lot of data mining and start providing, more realistic numbers. I know right now when we talk about numbers, it basically is through articles, and we're quoting those numbers through the articles as opposed to looking at data themselves. And again, if you go to places like Adam Data Solutions and whatever to get some of their reports, they're literally hundreds or thousands of dollars. So clearly I'm not going to be doing that every month. Just to talk about a few locations. So, but I'm working on stuff here, so just be patient, and hopefully we'll have a few more things happening in the next little while. So, what we're going to talk about today is really kind of an interesting thing. It's about people on the move and migration patterns and how what's going on right now is going to affect housing in the near future. So, this caught my eye about a week and a half ago. It came out in an email that I got from John Burns Consulting, and just as obvious here, it's home buyers on the move, right? So what does that mean? Well, obviously the orange dots, and clearly I like looking at dots because the past couple of videos, but it's the best way to show what's happening in the marketplace here. So this is just a quick, this is literally a infographic they produce and they include it in their emails. If you're on their subscriber list, really it's out migration markets and in migration markets, and this really is based on data collected from 2019. So we can see that the orange dots are where people are leaving. And clearly, we can see the the states that they're leaving from, and the green are the ones that are receiving the incoming people that are moving. And we know we can probably surmise some of the reasons why people are moving to those locations. Now, the one thing I'm going to state just in the future is that maybe some of these green dots may become orange dots based on what's going on locally in that city and region. All right, we'll leave it at that. But I think that we'll probably see some fallout as to what's been going on. It's still, again, too early, but there's been a lot of comments and people saying, hey, we could see some price decreases in specific cities, etc. So that remains to be seen, and we'll look and we'll deal with that when the time comes. All right, so let's go to the next slide here. So really, there's a couple places you can go to get information. So the moving companies tend to be the sources for, I guess you could say, this migration data. and North American Van Lines has their, we'll say charts and whatever. So recently, that's 2019's updated, and it tells you where things are going. And it says that really, if you take a look at what they're saying here, is that published by the U.S. Census Bureau, the percentage of people that move every year equals about 14% of the population, roughly 40 million. So 40 million people are changing locations. Migration patterns can vary, and obviously some states are going to have an influx, and some states are going to have an outflux and a net decrease in population. So, and this is what they find. So realize that this isn't the be-all and end-all of statistics. This is what they're showing from their company based on their they're a moving company, where their trucks are coming and where their trucks are going, basically. So this is what they had to say about this. So just hang on a sec here when I switch over to this next slide. All right, so this is a little bit of an easy chart here. So really, red means outbound states, blue means inbound states. So we sort of know that California has the past few years has had an exodus of people that and a lot of people leaving California are going where? Going to Arizona and going to Idaho. So funny enough, that seems to be what's happening, and I'm going to assume that that middle state there is probably Colorado. Remember, I'm not from here, but I know geography pretty well. But I'm assuming that the blue state, it goes obviously California, Nevada, I'm assuming Utah, and then that's Colorado. So people like Colorado. Clearly it's a nice place. Lots of stuff going on there. And Texas, so Texas driving growth. You've got North Carolina and you got Florida. Now, if you look at the, people are leaving the Northeast, so you basically have Pennsylvania, New York State, and you probably have like Jersey and Maryland in there as well too. Then you've got your sort of Minnesota, Michigan, and Illinois. Now we know Illinois. A lot of people are leaving Illinois and have been leaving Illinois on a clearly a an annual basis here. So the top inbound states: Idaho, Arizona, South Carolina, and that it looks like South Carolina and probably North Carolina are shaded there too, and Tennessee. So that's the starting. I look at that's kind of the starting point of the South as far as I'm concerned. And then outbound states are clearly what we got going on here: Illinois, California, New Jersey, Maryland, Pennsylvania. So really, there's reasons for that, which we'll get into, but these trends are going to continue to happen for various reasons. So takeaways from their migration report, really, obviously its top three states are outbound: Illinois, California, Jersey. Minnesota reemerged as the sixth highest state with outbound moves after not being in the top 8 the year before. Connecticut, which was also not in the top 8 last year, moved up to number 8 for the states with the most outbound moves this year. For inbound moves, the top 5 states were identical to 2018, with Idaho first, followed in order by Arizona, South Carolina, Tennessee, and North Carolina. North Carolina, obviously a lot going on there. If you've ever been there, especially the Raleigh area, Charlotte area, Raleigh is, universities, Research Triangle Park, a tech hub now as well too. My son did his internships up there while he was in school, so was there a few times. I do like the area, but I can see why it's growing. So, when you start taking a look at what's happening in each state, it kind of makes sense here. So, all right, let me go to the next slide. Really, Northeastern states, well, what do we got going on there? Well, they rank high for outbound moves, and, Illinois came first. Connecticut ranked 5th, and is in 2015, 6th, 2016, 2nd, 2017, and it's back at 8 for the past year. Pennsylvania and New Jersey have consistently been the top 8 of outbound moves since the study began in 2015. So, again, it's almost like the normal players are going to be there. Data suggests that Americans move out of the Northeast for a couple of reasons. There are some of the least tax-friendly states. We know that because we've seen over the year a lot of articles on property tax increases, on income tax, on sales tax, personal tax, whatever it is. So clearly, a lot of those people are getting taxed to death, and they need to move out. The weather. So if you come from the north, you realize that the weather's not getting any better, and the winters are longer, and they're becoming more harsh. So people don't want to deal with that. And as well, you go into the warmer climates, you're going to get a better quality of life, and you're going to have a better cost profile as well too. A lot of companies move from we'll say the Northeast to the warmer climates, and they realize a lot of gains with respect to cost of doing business. There's no state tax in certain states. Employment costs are cheaper. So there's reasons why corporations are moving towards the South. So the southern states, well, they obviously rank within the top 8 for inbound moves only. These states have not ranked for outbound moves since study began. So really, they're net growing, all right? Southern states are increasing in population. People are coming in, and they're netting positive every year. South Carolina ranks very high. Tennessee has risen steadily. Florida, always one of the top states as well, too. North Carolina fell from 3rd place for inbound moves to 5th place in 2018 and 2019. Texas ranked 8th for inbound moves in 2018-19. Georgia, which ranked 8th for inbound moves in 2016-17, has fallen out of the rankings and was not in the top 8 for 2019. So, again, maybe a little shifting here and there, but the southern states are bringing people in for a number of reasons, and we'll talk about that right now. What do we got here? Basically, very friendly tax states. So, a lot of states don't have on your income. Some of these states don't have a state income tax component, which is great. Warmer climates, like I can tell you, living in Florida and coming from the north, when it's January and it's 65, 68 degrees and it's beautiful outside and it's sunny and there's a cool breeze and no humidity, and then you talk to your family back up north who just got hit with an ice storm and it's minus 20, it's a different story. All right, simple as that. Warmer climates drive a lot more fun, and also job growth. I mean, because of the financial opportunities down here, it's people, companies are relocating. People are coming down here. If you can do your business anywhere in the country, then why not do it someplace where there's a lot of advantages, and that's what the South has to bring for a lot of people. Midwestern states, typically rank for outbound moves. So for Colorado, ranked for 6th for inbound moves in 2018 before falling to 7th place in 2019. I know a lot of people like Colorado because it's a very progressive state on a number of lifestyle things. I've never been there, but people that tell me it's beautiful. You can see the pictures. It's got a lot of things going for it. It's a great, if you like the outdoors, with the hiking, the skiing, the mountain biking, the elevation, all the great things that go on there. Also, there's, it's a progressive cannabis state as well too. So there's a lot of things that will drive people to places like that. Illinois, of course, is a leader on outbound. Okay, and Michigan has consistently been a member of outbound states as well too. So that's kind of how the Midwest plays out. Western states are mixed with rankings for both inbound and outbound moves. Idaho tops the charts for the highest percentage of inbound moves. It's ranked first every year since 2015, except for 2017, when it was ousted by Arizona. Arizona always ranks there too. Colorado ranks, and the two western states that seem to always be among the states with the most outbound moves are Washington State and California. So a lot of people are leaving those locations. I would guess primarily because high taxes and high property cost if you want to purchase a property there, which we know. So that's from North American Van Line. So guess what? U-Haul produces their own information as well too, and they typically publish this early in the year, and once they've had a look at their 2019 statistics. So we're looking at what happened in 2019. Clearly, they don't have halfway through the year information, but for U-Haul, they're basically saying Texas was the number 1 place last year, but guess what? Slipped to number 2, and we can take a look at another location basically jumping up, and that's going to be Florida. All right, so I know that Florida, we're receiving a lot of growth over the past few years, and it's indicative in just our expansion. Things that are happening down here, building infrastructure, etc. So there's a lot of things happening in the state, and the state also took over. It's the 3rd most populous state. So a couple of years ago, it took over New York State as the 3rd most populous state. You have California, Texas, then Florida is the 3rd most populated state across the country. Now, they actually rank all the states as growth states. So let's take a look at where everyone ranks. So Florida's number 1, Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina, Washington, Alabama, Ohio, Utah, Indiana, Vermont. That's your first 10. Let's go, and we'll do all 50 here. Then comes Idaho, Tennessee, Missouri, Oklahoma, Minnesota, Georgia, Alaska, Kansas, Nebraska, Arizona. And all right, what do we got here? Next one is Delaware, West Virginia, Arkansas, Nevada, Mississippi, Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota, Oregon, Iowa. And then, again, we're going down the list here. So New Hampshire, North Dakota, Maine, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Mexico, Kentucky, District of Columbia, Virginia, Louisiana. And the last 10 here are Wisconsin, Colorado, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Michigan, California, Illinois. So your bottom 3 are kind of consistent. So, the information is consistent between U-Haul and North American Van Lines. Yeah, you're going to have a little bit differences here and there because, again, this is statistics on, their stuff, like their business. So North American Van Lines is a moving company where U-Haul is a move-it-yourself company, right? You're renting trucks, you're renting trailers from U-Haul. And, so you may, so again, I don't know what, how you could look at the difference and separate the two. But, we can see that kind of the top states, they're all kind of consistent. And the bottom states are all kind of consistent as well, too. So there's no doubt about that. So that's the top 50 states as far as, where people are moving to from we'll call it most to least. Now, they also named their top 25 U.S. growth cities, which is kind of neat. So obviously they believe that the Raleigh-Durham corridor is a top growth city in America, according to their U-Haul data analysis for migration for 2019. So that's very interesting. So let's go to the cities. So number 1, you've got Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina. Number 2, you've got Kissimmee, Florida. For those of you that don't know, Kissimmee is just west of Orlando. Ultimately, Kissimmee is kind of where Disney is. Like if you're going east on I-4, the highway there, when you drive on I-4, you're going to come, you're going to drive by this sort of, we'll call it electrical substation with these big Mickey Mouse ears, electrical poles standing there. And then you're kind of in the West Orlando, which is sort of the Kissimmee area. Kissimmee is kind of west and sort of goes below Orlando. Ocala, Florida, that's about an hour north of where I am. Ocala is a growth area now. It's known for, I guess you could say, it's a quieter location, but a lot of agriculture farming, and a lot of horse farms, a lot of horses, a lot of horse breeding goes up there. So for whatever reason, it's a growing area. Obviously, Round Rock, Texas area, West Palm, Florida. So what we're going to see is we're going to see a lot of people coming from the Northeast. And I also talk, I look at this as highways. So, being from where I'm from in Southern Ontario, we would jump on, on Highway I-75 and go down through the central part of, the Midwest states, and then you're on the west side of Florida. If you're on Massachusetts, Connecticut, Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania area, you're jumping on Highway I-95 and you're driving straight down, going through, of course, Virginia, the Carolinas, Georgia, into Florida, and you're hitting the East Coast, which is West Palm, Port St. Lucie, and things like that. You can see that Port St. Lucie is next on the list there. Bradenton, just south of me, is number 7. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, that's actually on, and I've come to learn about this city because of real estate, the fact that, this is a growing place, and it's on the northwest side of Idaho, and it's just a few 20 miles, 25 miles from Spokane, Washington. So, and apparently there's quite the difference in property values in the two locations, for what I'm told from people up there. Obviously, Manhattan I don't know why it's a growth city, but I guess people are move there or relocate there for various reasons. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, sort of central Pennsylvania. New Braunfels, Texas. Auburn, Opelika, Alabama, and Huntsville, Alabama. So that's, I don't know what goes on there, but that's some growth areas as far as U-Haul is concerned. The Spring of the Woodlands, Texas. I believe that when you talk about the Woodlands, that's actually just it's a burb of Houston. You got Boca Raton, Florida, Henderson, Nevada, which is just outside of Vegas, McKinney, Texas, Temecula, California, Lauderdale, Florida, St. George, Utah. Interesting. Murfreesboro, Tennessee. National City, California, Chandler, Arizona, Wilmington, North Carolina, and Santa Barbara, California. So, you see that, clearly you've got locations that, like outside of Vegas, which is growth. You got a bunch of locations in Florida. All right. You got some other southern ones here, in Tennessee, and you got things like Alabama and stuff. So again, in the South, I'm not too sure what the business or drive there is, but it's still a growth location. So just interesting to see where people are going and what the attraction is. So again, this is what's been happening over the past years. This is going to continue to play out as people are going to relocate for a myriad of reasons to warmer climates, better price real estate, better tax locations, and things like that. And I'm just thinking, you know what, now I forgot to add 2 slides about taxation in here as well too. So there you go. So, but you know, it kind of makes sense. The people that are migrating are going to locations with, you know, low tax requirements. So that certainly is part of the driving force here. All right. Now this has come out the past couple of days. The flight to the suburbs is real and growing as coronavirus changes the way people live. So this is true. And as the real estate market began to recover in May, home searches in suburban zip codes jumped 13% according to Realtor.com, one of the largest real estate listing websites. That doubled the pace of growth in the urban areas, and more than half the nation's 100 largest metropolitan areas are seeing increased interest in the suburbs. So this is what's happening. And there's a number of reasons, but I think people now are going, you know, I don't want to be living so close to other people based on, you know, personal safety and health. And now that we've had about 3 months of lockdowns and shutdowns and this and that, working from home or you know, social like isolation and things like that, you know, people, number one, people may realize I can work from home, and corporations may go, yeah, you can work from home, and there could be benefits and savings on both parties to do that. And if you can work from home, why not leave, you know, an urban center, which typically is maybe more expensive on average, and go out to the suburbs where, you know, as you know, the farther you drive out from the city core, the cheaper the property is. And then maybe you have a better cost basis and better quality of life, but lower cost of living, etc. So we're going to see a lot of that happening, you know, as time goes on. This migration to suburbs is not a new trend, but it has become more pronounced this spring, said the Realtor.com Director of Economic Research. After several months of shelter-in-place orders, the desire to have more space and the potential for more people to work remotely are likely two of the factors contributing to the popularity of the burbs. Yes, it is, and we'll probably see more of that. What's also noted, but not in here, which I've seen, is that, you know, we're talking from urban to burb, but also people are looking at it going, well, what about sort of quasi-rural? Like, you know, you can go out a little farther than the burbs, and you'll start to see a bigger drop-off in prices. Now, as long as you've got good broadband internet connection, then, you know, that's sort of a determining factor, because, you know, if you go to locations that don't have technology to support you doing your Zoom conference calls and uploading and downloading and stuff like that, it makes it difficult. As a side note, I was just thinking about this. I don't know if you guys follow much the tech world, but you know that one of Elon Musk's companies, I don't know which one it is, but they're launching like a whack of little satellites, you know, into orbit. And the whole idea is that they're going to provide a new internet service. So, you know, this is where, if stuff like this goes on and technology is deployed that's better, faster speeds, more bandwidth, whatever, you know, that's where we can see a big shift into the more rural areas. Because, you know, think about it. If you rely upon, like we all do, rely upon your computer, bandwidth, you need to have conference calls, you need to have cell service, you need to have, you know, the ability to do, you know, whether it's webinars or Zoom or GoToMeetings or whatever, you know, platform you use, you got to have the connectivity. And if connectivity, you know, and part of the whole, again, I was an ex-telecom guy. That's why I know, at least I understand a lot of this. You know, part of the issues in the rural communities is that the cost to bring broadband high-speed services is prohibitive, and therefore that's why, you know, a lot of it, you know, you don't have much out there. So if something like the satellite stuff's in the air can you know, if satellites are in the air, then really high-speed internet can be anywhere. You know, you don't have to have a dedicated connection. If you can pick it off from the satellites, that could change the way people look at where they're going to live, and they could move even farther out. And if they do so, more space, is smaller cities, smaller townships, you know, more rural communities, quality of life, things like that. So again, just you can see where some of this can go in the near future. All right. So this new flight to the suburbs is clearly benefiting the nation's home builders, who have seen much quicker recovery than they ever expected. Now, you know, again, will caveat this just because, we have seen, and I'll talk about this because May's data was released for home building, and it didn't go up as expected. So April's went down, it cratered, then it remarkably got readjusted and wasn't that bad. And the expectation was May's would be great, and it didn't come in great. So, statistics are tough, and I don't even know how they report them anymore, to be honest with you, so I don't believe half of them. But the point is that, home builders, apparently their sentiment is up now, and, people are fleeing the cities. And we know that, you've read about the people who are in the big cities like New York City, and they're going, well, we want to take our helicopters to our homes in the Hamptons because we can isolate ourselves out there, isolate in our second home that's beautiful and very expensive. You know what I mean? So that's what's been going on. But when it comes down to it, it's like, do I really need to be in the urban core? And maybe I said I can have better amenities in homes with space and backyards as opposed to being tied up against one another and in kind of that big city core rat race every day. It just depends on your perspective, I suppose. Now, we will see effects of this, of course. Manhattan apartment contracts fell more than 80% in May. So Manhattan apartments deals plunged more than 80% in May compared to a year ago, according to a report from Miller, Samuel, and Douglas Elliman. The high end is getting hit the hardest. Contracts for apartments priced more than $5 million fell by 90%. So clearly in New York City and Manhattan, there's some very expensive locations, a lot of high rises that have huge apartments, and they're wonderful addresses, and they're nicely appointed. They're a lot of money. So when stuff hits the fan, it's the high end stuff is what we see first. So people, developers develop and they think, oh, we can make, we can sell these for X number of dollars a square foot, thousands of dollars a square foot. We're going to make X number of millions of dollars per unit. And then the people go, you know what? I don't want to buy that. They're overexposed here. And again, when you see that, is this the result of the pandemic? Is this the result of taxation? Well, by contrast, it says South Florida saw a strong surge in May, especially for standalone homes. So if you're in a apartment complex, which of course, if you're at the $5 million plus or $1 million plus apartment complex, unit in the complex, it's probably very nice. And if you're selling that, or you want to get out and you want to come to get your own home in South Florida, that's a complete different change of lifestyle. So we can see that that's certainly affecting some of the marketplaces right now. All right. Again, the number of sales of contracts for Manhattan co-ops fell 80% last month. All apartments priced over $1 million, contracts fell by 81%. Again, we saw the high end getting hit the hardest, and Southern Florida saw a surge in sales in May. Contracts for single-family homes priced at over $1 million surged at 45% in the Miami-Dade County compared with a year ago, and contracts for seven-figure homes in Palm Beach County jumped 26%, and Broward County saw a 23% increase. So a lot of nice homes, and that's traditionally a more expensive, that whole coast is a more expensive location in Florida. So please keep that in mind. All right. So as we go forward here, again, this came out in the Wall Street Journal today or the day. Housing market around New York City is booming again. If you're going to go to upstate New York or off the Hudson River Valley, people are buying homes now, and it's almost like the builders are going, we've not seen this before, and yeah, it's a boom for them. Can they keep up? I don't know, but we're going to see a lot of market. So it's almost like, again, the shift. So the wealth is going to shift, the locations are going to shift. People are going to cash out and from the urban center and take that money and bring it to the suburban or the smaller townships and buy with cash or very good financing, and they can afford to buy property, and they can afford to probably push some of the prices up. So that's where we're going to see this kind of push-pull on property valuations. As well, San Francisco apartment market goes in reverse. So San Fran's, the apartment market's actually seen a decrease in rental rates here. And I got my article in front of me here. So the city's vacancy rate rose 6.2% in May, to 6.2% in May, up from 3.9% only 3 months ago. So people are going, I don't want to be here anymore. Now San Francisco probably has a couple other issues going on with respect to the downtown core, but this is it's one of those things where if the price points don't work and you can go someplace else and still get paid to do your job the same amount, why not? Okay, and that's really interesting. And the median rent for a one-bedroom apartment was also down 9.2% compared to a year ago. So we're seeing vacancy increasing, and we're seeing median rent decrease almost 10%, which will 9.2%. So that's a pretty big number there. So when you take a look at that, and this is kind of my intel. So we got the feet on the street, boots in the ground, however you want to call it, local market intel. I'll tell you what I hear from talking to other people in the industry that are out there doing deals, renting places, selling places, whatever, acquiring homes. And this is, again, firsthand experience I'm going with too on some of the clients I'm working with and what's happening in the marketplace. So people right now are not comfortable living in tight, dense locations, complexes, etc. Even though we've had a huge multifamily building boom going on the past few years, which has been sucking up some of the we'll call it the need for housing. But people now are going, okay, I don't want to share 300 units in a tight complex here. All right. So why? It's too dense, and there's potential for the coronavirus exposure. So many will not renew their leases once the leases are expiring. And we can see that. Like, this could be an example of, when you see the vacancy rate rising in San Fran, it could be just that. It's the fact that, okay, well, my lease expired. Well, guess what? I'm not going to renew. I'm going to go someplace else. So, that's, to me, that's what's happening in that location. The preference is to move to single family rentals. Single family for our discussion is 1 to 4 units. So single family home, duplex, triplex, quad, anything that's 5 units and above is considered in the real estate world commercial. So, the 10, 20, 100, 400 unit complexes are commercial multifamily. The 1 to 4 single family to quad is still considered residential real estate. Okay. So one of the things I have seen is an increase in inquiries this month. And what I mean by that is people are calling me from old ads, or, they drove by my sign for a rental property, a month ago, and they're calling me going, is it still available? And funny, a lot of people who kicked the tires on it, I guess you could say, early on, and just, didn't get back to me, or just whatever, just didn't, wasn't their cup of tea, have now, they're calling back, is this still available? And it's kind of like, no, I mean, it's already rented. It's been rented since, June 1st. And, oh, do you got anything else? You see, so things are changing now. And, so I am seeing a significant uptick in the inquiries, and we're just trying to get our hands on property. So because I know that the rental is going to be there. So again, so even though we're having migration from physical locations, we're going to see migration from style of property, from denser location, multifamily units, to more of the people want the single family rentals, the duplexes, the tris, the quads, because again, I'm not walking up the stairs touching a handrail that 400 people have also touched. I'm not going in the elevator and pressing a button that 100 people have also touched. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, I think it's just, people are just not comfortable with what's going on in the marketplace right now. What does this tell us? All right. Well, again, it tells us that single family rentals are going to remain strong. I know they're going to remain strong. I know that, there'll be a big purchase movement to pick these things up as time goes on, which we'll talk about in another future video. So the single-family rentals will remain strong. The rentals will be in demand. So it's not like you're going to have a situation where if you put a house for rent, that's going to take a long time to fill up. As a matter of fact, you're going to have multiple people that are going to jump on. And if you're a landlord, that's a good thing, because now maybe you can set your prices higher, or maybe you can set your standards higher as the type of tenant qualification you want in there. So single family rentals will be in demand. How does that play out to people like you and me? Well, the opportunity to earn cash flow will be there. So if you're looking to acquire some opportunities in investment, as long as you're buying correctly, now is the time. There are people out there that will say, and I know your comments will be, well, I'm going to wait until it's 50% off in 2 years. Well, you know what? Good for you. The fun part is that you're going to miss out on deals from now till the 50% gets here, if it even does. All right. I look at it going, if you can buy it good now and it cash flows, it's always going to be a good deal, because stuff like this, again, you're buying it for cash flow, you're not buying it for an appreciation. So a cash flowing home as a rental can withstand a market cycle, because you're not buying it at X today looking to sell and flip it for Y in 6 months or a year or 2 years. This is the long haul. And again, there's opportunity zones so that you could buy in an opportunity zone, which may provide some tax incentives for you as well too. So there's a lot of things that are happening. So, that's why I talk about this going, don't discount the opportunity. People, as much, and people also, the renters, well, guess what? Well, they're going to default and I'll be stuck with the property. You know what? That's all going to work itself out, people. I mean, it's going to change. But for me, when I have a lot of people inquiring, I don't have the inventory to give to them, you see? So if that's a problem, it's a good problem to have. That means we got to get more and more deals in the pipeline, all right, for my clients and just stuff like that. So this is how things are going to change. And, we're going to see, migration patterns increasing and maybe having some change ups on certain locations based on what's going on these days. And then we're going to see local migration patterns going from style. So from multi into maybe, a single family 1 to 4 residential. That's what's happening, feet on the street, giving that information right now. All right, guys. Thank you. So hope everyone's doing well. Today is the 19th of June. And again, it's been a while since I did a video. So if you want to reach out to me, there's my contact information on the screen here. I've got some stuff I'll be announcing shortly. I've been working on my education products. Just iced, as I said, a data deal, which I'll be talking about the next little while. And if you want information on buying houses, selling houses, some help, looking for properties, looking for deals, email me first, give me your contact information. I'll make sure to hook up with you. Again, I've been planning out my my next 2-3 years right now, and we're going to start to implement all those plans based on what's happening in the environment. So it could be exciting times for real estate on many fronts, whether it's buying your primary residence as best you can, or investing in real estate and earning income that way, or selling your own home and doing the best you can to cash out. So lots going on these days. So once again, appreciate the views, likes, comments. Hit me up if you want more information, and we'll look forward to speaking to you in the next little while with some other good information. Thanks.